Welcome to Behind the Curtain, Nashville's movers, shakers,
and tastemakers.
Brought to you by Chord Real Estate, your key to the heart of Nashville. I'm Steve Luther alongside my co-host Van Hohe.
Here we peel back the layers of Nashville's vibrant scene, sitting down with the innovators, creators, and leaders who shape our city. From music to business and everything in between, we dive into the journeys that have brought them to where they are today.
We're here to uncover the stories behind the success, the passion driving their pursuits, and why they've chosen Nashville as their stage. It's about the people who dream big, push boundaries, and make this city truly unique.
So join us as we explore the heart and soul of Nashville through the eyes of those who know it best.
To welcome Ron Henry, a trusted advisor, connector, and leader who has spent more than 5 decades in what he calls the people business. From his early career in the music industry, working with artists like Tom Petty and Leon Russell, to building executive search firms and ultimately founding the Sterling Group, Ron has dedicated his life to helping leaders find the right place to serve and thrive. Over the years, he has coached, connected, and positioned thousands of leaders across corporate, nonprofit, and ministry settings. Known as a net weaver, Ron has a unique ability to bring people and purpose together, not just filling roles, but guiding individuals through the deeper questions of calling, identity, and impact. His work has gone beyond resumes and titles, focusing instead on aligning who someone is with where they are meant to lead. Today, as Chief Succession Officer at Ministry Transitions, Ron helps mission-driven organizations navigate one of the most critical and often overlooked moments in leadership, succession. He walks alongside boards, executives, and leaders to ensure not only continuity of mission, but care for the people involved in the transition. Grounded in faith, relationships, and decades of experience, Ron's work is about helping leaders step into what's next with clarity, purpose, and confidence. Ron, welcome to the show.
My pleasure to be here, gentlemen.
So, 5 decades in the people business. What does people business mean to you?
Well, it's interesting. You know, sometimes you make statements when you're younger and you don't realize how much depth there is in that statement. When I started business, I said my business is all about people, and I started thinking about it, and it is. Everything I've done has to do with relationships, and when you get older, you see the value of that. But I was never into product or service. It was people, and so that's where the foundation is relationships. That's everything it's built on. And it's interesting. It's been 50 years, but the actual functional role that I've done over 50 years, it was all people. I mean, it was vocationally different industries, different so-called vocations, but each one was building relationships to enhance that person's success. Mm-hmm. So it's just, and also now later on in life, I look back, it also comes back to my faith, which we were created for a relationship.
That's
so
right.
I always thought it's kind of nice to get down to the low and common denominator, what life is all about. We can't exist without relationships.
It's good.
Well, where did you grow up? How did you kind of get started in this industry?
Well, I grew up in a little town in Connecticut with a white white church on Main Street, town of 18,000, and just normal, just out of the Storybrooke life. My dad had a good job. My mom was a homemaker, and I went to school and got decent grades, played sports, did all the normal things, and then I decided I wanted to go to college, but I like sports a lot. I'm very much of a sport junkie, and so I chose a university that was smaller so I could be more involved. And that's when things really started shaping for me. But back in those days, I got an engineering degree, and all of a sudden I said I didn't want to be an engineer. I said, well, what do you like to do? I want to work with people. Get into marketing. How do you get into marketing? Well, get an MBA. What's an MBA? This is late 60s.
Right.
And and they said, well, why don't you apply this place called Wharton? What's Wharton?
Wow.
I go, I don't know. So I applied, but that was the era, by the way, I'm just sharing my age. That was the era where there was if you didn't have an engineering job and you went out after graduation, 80% chance you were going to end up in Vietnam.
Wow.
And so life pressure was a little bit different then. You didn't switch majors, you didn't do any of that stuff. But as what happened, I got a job through connections. I got a job teaching school, and then got into the National Guard and ended up going to Wharton, getting a degree. But even then, it's one of those things in life. It's like, what do you want to do in life?
Mm.
And I never fit in a box. I always challenge that. I mean, I remember a story when I did my MBA. I had a marketing class my first year, and the guy was a noted professor and written books, expert. So I sat in the back. I always sat in the back of classrooms, never liked the front seat. And I remember raising my hand, and I asked the professor, I said, what you've been sharing with us for the last couple of days, have you ever done it?
Oh, wow. How did that go over?
Well, let's play it this way. I didn't get an A. But that's my question life is about, experience, what you learn. And it's interesting, you make statements in younger years, and you look back and go, golly, that was pretty cool. I didn't realize what it was, but I've never fit in a box. It's almost like the issue of being 1 foot in the box, 1 foot out of the box. In other words,
story of my life.
You were accepted in the inner circle, but you were not part of the inner circle.
Right.
And that's what I was through high school and college. But I got a lot of my journey was coming up with out of the box ideas. I mean, I was involved with creating the first political party at the university I was at.
Cool.
I mean, it was a rinky-dink little affair, but I mean, I did have a platform, and I was an out-of-state student and in a state university, and even during that, we created a controversial speakers program and brought in speakers. Now we had a problem with the state legislature of the state of Rhode Island because Senator Wayne Morris was against the war, but that opened to Norman Thomas. I mean, socialist running for president. And then we had the opportunity of bringing in Dr. Martin Luther King.
Wow.
So here I am in 1966, I said, whatever, a year before he was assassinated, I was hosting him at the university and he spoke. But these are all, in those days, those were radical things.
Right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
To a little New England State University, you got Martin Luther King speaking.
Sure.
So that's always been my journey, but even after I went through that,
you're just moving right past that. I'm over here going, what was that like, bringing Martin Luther King Jr. in?
Well, I'll give you one little side story. I mean, when he spoke 2 hours without any notes.
Wow.
And you would think it was Jimmy's, who was packed with people. And the way he spoke, you would absolutely ask him. He actually wrote that specifically for this student body. I mean, it was just so perfect. I found out later that he has a basic speech he gives, but his friends give him in anecdotes or things about the state.
Sure.
And he's so gifted, he brought those into the talk. So it was like he was talking to you because he'd spent all his life in Rhode Island.
Right.
So it was just, but when we brought him back to his plane to say goodbye, he had a private airport, had private plane,
sure,
twin prop Cessna, and so I had one of those little pads, that you had back in the day for making notes, and I asked him to sign an autograph. So he scribbled on there, "Best wishes, Martin Luther King." So the day he got assassinated, I opened my dresser drawer in my fraternity house, and a paper falls out of the dresser drawer, and it was his autograph.
Wow.
Ooh-wee. It's
I love it.
So those are the things. I mean, I did a lot of things. I mean, I guess some people call my journey, I'm more of a pioneer scout. And even, that kind of theme has followed me all through my journey, even in the music industry, which you got into. But so I got out of the Wharton School, didn't know what I wanted to do, had 6 job offers because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but they thought I had a good personality. So, hey, come on, why don't we sell Metropolitan Life Insurance? No, I don't want to sell insurance.
Right.
So I get an offer from RCA Corporation, which was a $4 billion corporation at that time, and they own, Ryder. I mean, they own Hertz. They own, Cushman Wakefield, all these kind of big corporations, as well as their own product. And it just so happens the day I was going to do some consulting assignments at different divisions and decide where I wanted to work. And the day I was to start, RCA, because I'm in engineering, wanted me to go in their computer division. Well, the day I was scheduled to start, they closed the computer division.
Oh, wow.
So they said, why don't you go set up a market research department at the Hearst Corporation? Sure, okay, I'll do that. Then they said, why don't you do a consumer study on this concept called 1-inch videotape, for high quality tape, which at that day in TV, everything was 2-inch.
Sure.
And the 1-inch led for the whole evolution of that. So I did a study on that and showed the projection on that. And then they said, well, go down to RCA Records. They have some help with their music club. So I go down there and I meet the VP of marketing, and they meet me, and I'm looking, this is kind of cool. I don't have to wear a suit down here.
Right.
I can wear slacks and a shirt. And hey, wait a minute, I can get free tickets to every concert. And being a really entrepreneurial young single guy in New York, all that meant was my social life just took an uptick.
Yeah, it did.
And so that's what I got there. But then the VP of marketing offered me a middle management position. I started at a merchandising manager for RCA Records back in that day, and they had David Bowie, John Denver, of course Elvis was still there.
My goodness.
And I was like a kid in the candy store, but I knew nothing.
Sure.
But I spent 12 hours a day reading every trade magazine, Record World, Billboard, memorizing names.
Right.
I had to learn the lingo.
That's right.
And there was two old guys who had been with RCA for like 30 years, 40 years. And it was sort of a sad, because every night after work, their marriage is destroyed. They just go to the local bar and drink beer. So I'd go over there, leave my office at 9 o'clock, go over there, sit next to them, order one beer. My dinner would be beer nuts, and just hear them tell stories. Stories like, Elvis was going to be actually played Madison Square Garden in 1972. He did something like 6 or 8 shows sold out. The only time in his whole career he played New York City. And I got in charge of distributing tickets.
Wow.
Because every employee had to get 2 tickets. So who got 2 good tickets. There's no doubt about it.
That was gold back then.
Yeah, I know it. So I'm sitting next to these 2 old cronies. And they're these kind of hard drinkers. They just, when they talk, they don't look at you. They just look at their beer bottle in front of them. And I said, wouldn't it be cool? Because we were getting requests from George Harrison, Bob Dylan for tickets. I said, wouldn't it be cool if they all got there and got up on stage and jammed with Elvis? And all of a sudden the guy puts his beer down, turns his head, looks at me, goes, no one goes on the stage with the king.
Wow.
Then he turns his head back and drinks his beer.
Incredible.
So a lot of fun stories, but came from that after 3 promotions, and at RCA, now we're in charge of all the internal workings, but 2 of the 3 promotions came because they laid off my boss, so I just assumed their responsibilities. So, but then I got an opportunity to go to the West Coast. So I left a cold, dreary New York day and arrived, and out in L.A. It was warm and balmy in April. I'm going, boy, I like this weather. So I was there. I did some work with back there was cassette duplicator and whatever. But I had a friend, the only friend I had at RCA. He said, spend the night at my house for the weekend. Did it and met an attorney. I said, boy, I'd like to come out. He said, I might have a client. 2 months later, I got a call from Denny Cordell. He was in New York, and he was, at that time, co-owner of Shelter Records with Leon Russell. We met for lunch. Long and behold, he offered me the job, and 2 months later, I became general manager of Shelter Records, and I relocated at age 27 to Hollywood.
Incredible.
And then the journey goes on. I don't think you have a show long enough to go too much. But the music industry was very, in the 70s, as you know,
right.
a fan. I mean, it's a different animal.
That's right.
It really was. It was a great experience. Traveled the world, had bands playing in Europe. Did different things, and around that whole thing. It's like when you get people understand when you're in the music business, it gets in your blood.
That's right.
You may not be formally in it. It's always part of you.
That's exactly what we said.
Right. So, and then I went through a down period, and then in the late 78, sort of things started falling apart in my life. And people say, well, maybe did you find Jesus at that time? I said, no, but I found out who I wasn't.
Right.
And I was living a fake life. Because I just was doing what you should do versus what I was created to do.
It's good.
So I got that in order. And then 3 months later, I walk into a nightclub where a band of mine's playing in Orange County, California, in Huntington Beach, club called the Golden Bear.
I love it.
And I walked in and went backstage, and God said, she's the one. And
Wow.
My wife, who 2 weeks later, we had our first date, engaged 5 months later, married 3 months after that. It'll be 47 years in September.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so it all works out. Life goes on. But I think the thing that got into executive search because I was traveling too much. Our daughter was born.
Right.
I wanted to be there. You guys have kids, you know. That's like you can't be 50% out of the road.
That's pretty much how I talked him into real estate.
Yeah, that's why I came off the road.
I know. It's just, So it's not that you ever lose that connection.
Right.
But there's more important priorities. And my daughter, and blessed with a wonderful daughter born, she's now 43, and my son's now 41. But so I got into executive search, and then once again did some things in there that were never done before in search. Some things but even back in the music business, to tie into that idea of the patterns. So we all have patterns. It never changes. It's just how it's played out. And like when I was in the music industry, I was responsible for producing the very first conceptual video of a record be on TV. It was never before. It was almost the old just show the album cover and go buy it, at Tower Records.
Right.
But we did a concept on an album on a song called Poetry Man by Phoebe Snow. You may or may not know it, but it was a big time song. And then we four-walled her touring campaign, which four-walling was an advertising term where you do radio, print, TV, and live appearance. We sold 750,000 albums on this tour.
Wow.
Those things had never been done before 76.
Incredible.
So there's a lot of things, I think, even in your own journeys, there's things you've created, thoughts. I mean, even, Steve, your approach to Chord real estate is not the normal approach. It's true. And that's great. I think who wants to be second?
I love it.
So whatever. The journey continues. 30 years in executive search. Blessed with building the number one search firm in Orange County. I had my own firm and model, but really, my big pivotal thing was that in 1989 I did my faith. I found out who this person of Jesus Christ was in my life, and everything started making sense.
Love it.
And so I have been actively involved in the whole faith and work movement, dealing with Christian CEOs all around the world. I have been members of or served with pretty much all of the existing organizations out there at one point in time, but never like the number one person, but always involved. I'm curious. I like to see how God works out there. So there's neat things. When you have the bigger picture of things, there's great hope on that. There's great hope. Because that there's opportunity out there.
Bouncing back to the music industry, I mean, you had some pretty big names on your resume, Tom Petty, but what were some of your most memorable moments from being in the music industry?
I don't like, it's interesting, Steve. When my wife and when I got out of the business, my wife was in the business too. And when we were up in LA and Hollywood, we moved down to Orange County and we started raising a family. So we basically didn't talk about the music industry.
What year did you move to Orange County?
It would have been 84.
Okay. So there were still orange groves and things like that.
Yeah, you drive. Yeah, it's definitely orange groves. Right. I remember when I first came to Hollywood, I drove past it and I said, who would ever live here?
Right. So, that's what I used to say about Franklin back before they built the mall.
Yeah, I know it.
Down here.
So I'm just, it's so there's a lot of things you see there, but I remember one story, to me, probably the greatest impact is the God-given talent that some of these people have. Now, I'll just share one quick story on Leon Russell. A lot of people don't know that much about Leon Russell, but he arranged all of Phil Spector's stuff.
Oh, wow.
He arranged a number of Frank Sinatra's things. He was born with polio, at a young age, and so he couldn't play sports. So his mother had him take classical piano. So he had that foundational background, but he was an introvert. I mean, you couldn't have him on a podcast because he wouldn't say anything.
Right.
All right. But I saw him. He was doing a concept album back in early 1976, and he wanted to take some other people's songs and record them. I mean, from Herb Alpert, Bobby Blue Bland, a lot of these bands. And so he called. He rarely did this, but he called and said, "Hey, if you'd like to come out to the studio tonight, I'm recording out here at the Sound Factory and out there in L.A." I said, "Sure." So I pop out there, and being single, like grab a date. We don't know. And I'm sitting there, and this is an environment where Leon's like in control. There's no drugs, no alcohol, nothing. So he's there, and people start walking the room, and the session drummer that he brought in was Jim Keltner. You read any albums in the 70s, he's on it. He had a young keyboard player named David Foster.
No way.
He's produced a few.
Yeah.
And then he had a Jesse Ed Davis, and then the other drummer came in the room, and it was Ringo Starr.
Unbelievable.
All right. So when Ringo Starr walked in, I'm sitting on the couch in the control room, and I'm going, blah, blah, blah. You want to say hi to Ringo? Blah, blah, blah,
Right.
Listen, I'm a 60s kid. I mean, come on, the Beatles.
Sure.
So he goes in there, and then, so the whole band's there, and then finally in walks George Harrison with his date, who he later married, and it was his song they were going to record.
Unbelievable.
So he comes in with a cassette, this is 70s, cassette of a basic guitar, vocal, and maybe a little drums or bass and drums on it, demo. So all the guys in the control, are out there in the studio, and they have their headsets on. And he says so Leon says, "George, could you play it?" So he gives it to the engineer. He plays the song through, does it twice. Then Leon turns to all the guys there, go, "You got it?" "Yeah, we got it." So he says, "Let's let it roll." They did one take.
Incredible.
All right. And I'm sitting there going, wow. They do a second take of it. And they get it, and Leon goes, okay. And George plays it back, and, oh, Leon, this is phenomenal. I can't believe this is so great. And so in the respect they had for him at this level of creativity, Leon says to George, "Would it be okay if I made a couple little changes?" "Oh, Leon, whatever you want to do, whatever. This is great. He rearranged the whole song in less than 10 minutes.
Wow.
He said, "Jim, on drums on that section here, the second section, I want you to boop, boop, boop. David, keyboard, remember, I want you to fill in over here." The whole song, and he took the song from like a B+ to an A+.
Wow.
I mean, that's what I take away from it. That
There's a memory for you.
The brilliance of people out there, a lot of them you don't know.
Right.
A lot of you don't know. And this... And see, to me, I believe every one of us has that kind of brilliance in us. We just haven't ever really known it. No, it doesn't necessarily get the big stars or the big credits, but I think we all have that distinctively unique thing. If we allow ourselves to be that, to take advantage of that.
That's good.
How would you say that time has impacted what you do with the Sterling Group and placing executives and all those kinds of things? I'm sure you were dealing with some big personalities in the music industry, and how did that impact the way you deal with people?
Well, it impacted me. One, I had to realize I had to get to know the people. What was motivating them? Where was their heart?
And the people business.
It's the people business. But I found that one of the things that when I meet someone for the first time, even in recruiting, I always try to hear their heart. What's motivating them? And in the 80s, in recruiting, everything was done on the phone. There was no, you never saw people, so it was easy to see. I could hear people. And then the other thing I realized, too, that I had the ability to see the potential for somebody. Look at somebody like it, whether it be an individual or what they're all about. And so I related that back to in the music, seeing certain artists and recognizing their potential. Now, a lot of them didn't make it because they made bad choices.
Sure.
I mean, the one band that I thought was really going to make it, but, that white powder got in the way. And unfortunately never made it to that level. So I think what it took me along is that everyone has their distinctive and to get to know them, who they are, and just a heart, I've always had a passion for them to be the best what they could be. Many times, they might say encourager, but I think it's more than encouraging, it's helping equip them to really understand what it is. So that's consistently through today. Now, and many times in executive search, I had to come in and be the fix-it man because it was poor leadership. I mean, it breaks my heart. And in the church world, I mean, does anyone not know a bad leadership change of pastoral leadership?
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's sad. The people that get hurt because of that.
That's right.
It's, the selfishness and many different levels. So it's just one of those things, if we can avoid it and see the kingdom multiplied. I mean, I have a little wristband for both of you. It says multiply, not divide.
It's good.
So it's the same thing as just positioning people to be all that God created them to be. I mean, are you familiar with Mark Batterson, the author Mark Batterson?
Maybe.
Well, he's sold millions of books, but he's a pastor out of Washington, D.C., but
Okay.
amazing story there. But he just came out with a new book, and it was the idea of, steady, being persevere, and then suddenly. And what the context of that, and we know that in any area, if you have vision and faith, it's a steady process. You got to work at it. I mean, Lainey Wilson worked 10 years, then all of a sudden, boom, and then
Right.
the public says, overnight succession.
Right.
No. And I think that's what I think a lot of us, and what, I hope to do is help people stay on that vision. Don't give up. It's going to happen.
So, a lot of people ask us how we met. There's a very long story there, but there's an element to it where Van always goes back to this point where, he was at this big event with Colin Powell, and he was on the red carpet right after that, the Grammys, and he started noticing this it factor that the people that were really making it had. If you could see that it factor, you knew, you kind of touched on that a little bit, but like, what do you commonly see in people, over the years that, helps you identify like, oh, like this person has this thing?
Well, I embrace the concept of the it factor. There's just something they have it.
Yes.
You get it. Now, whether anything comes out from a commercialized money-making standpoint, but they got the it. They have that unique gift. So I think that is something but that, for me, it ties into what I perceive one's potential to be. And I don't want to discount it, because we look at the it factor and name well-known people or well-known situation. But I really, deep down, we all have an it factor. We just have it. We've just been, someone said to me the other day, he said, what has conditioned you over your life? Well, you spend 60 hours a week in the workplace in a worldview that's telling you what your life should look like.
Right.
And meanwhile, you spend maybe a couple hours a week with God, and God's going to tell you how he created you not to be like that. So we have to, I mean, I always said that, one of the cruelest questions to ask a college graduate would be, what do you want to do? And they're thinking, hell, I just got through 4 years of college and I got a loan. I just want a job to pay it off.
Right.
But realistically speaking, they got to figure out who they are. And we got to give them people space to do that. We got to give people the space to fail. To not monopolize and guide them and direct them. But I understand there's a bigger plan. There's a bigger plan out there. Even though we go through those dark times, we think the world's coming to an end, but somehow we survived. I mean, look at you guys. Look back over your life, the ups and downs.
No question.
And here you are, smiling. So that's wonderful. So I think, once again, we get, I like to think that there's hope for everyone. I really do. There is.
I love that.
You talk about being known as a net weaver. What does that mean?
It means that 1 + 1 = 3. I mean, it's intent. A lot of people out there say you're a connector. You know people. Yes, I am unbelievably, overloaded with God's grace of all the people that He's brought into my life that I know. I mean, people say, if you Ron either knows them or knows somebody who knows them, anyone you want. I mean, kind of thing. But the NetWeaver aspect is intentionality. If I feel led to bring two people together, it's to build something greater than each individual one.
That's good.
So it's an intentionality. You know, I can introduce you to a whole bunch of people, but if you're not aligned, what good does it do?
Right.
Other than, hey, he's cool, he knows everyone. It's intentionality. Mm-hmm. And when I look over my journey in my life, I mean, it's very, very humbling, the fact that God allowed these people to influence my life, and at that right time, the right appropriate time. So that's what it is. In other words, I don't take it lightly. NetWeaver takes it very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So you're working a lot now on leadership transition, succession. Why do you think that's so critical and often so overlooked? I mean, I know we've got a lot of businesses now, these baby boomer owned businesses. There isn't any kind of a plan, and it's like, what happens with those businesses? But like, why do you think people don't really think about those things? Why is that such an issue?
Well, because it's all about them. People, we're called to be stewards of whatever has been given to us. Mm-hmm. And if you don't steward well, depending what your faith and beliefs are, no matter what your faith and beliefs are, you're going to be held accountable for that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take a situation, I ran into a situation just recently, and the company had 50 employees. And the guy said, well, I'm going to be leaving this and that. I said, well, have you thought of your employees, the ones that have worked with you for 10 to 15 years? What's going to happen to them?
Right.
Have you thought of your family? What's going to happen to them? Have you thought of your customers? It's that, so to me, unhealthy transitions are basically self very motivated moves. And I truly believe at the end of the day that individual is going to be held accountable for it. Mm-hmm. And you see how many broken lives you see out there.
Do you think some of it has to do with just not really fully developing out the vision in your mind and where you want it to go, and telling that story and getting other people excited about it? Because I think, like for us, our youngest son is showing interest in this business, which amazing.
I have some assessments you might want to have.
But have you ever, does it seem like a lot of it is just there's no one that really seems to care after they're gone? Or
yeah, I think really you touched upon it really when you started your remarks. For 20 years, I was involved with an organization in Orange County called the Barnabas Group, and it was a collection of about 380 business leaders that met quarterly to give of their time and talents for nonprofits. And so over that time period, I did some SWATs and other things, but I got introduced to probably about 400 different nonprofits of all different sizes. The common element, the missing link on 80% of the time was they did not have a strategic plan. They were just doing it. Mm. So it's to think about anything. If you don't have a plan, you got to have a plan. So part of one of the key, did you know most big corporations, if you're hired as a CEO, the board will tell you on their first day of employment is, I want to have a succession plan in place by the end of the first year.
Wow.
Because the board's saying, hey, what happens if you get hit by a bus? Right. What's the plan? Who are we going to develop?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I have a statement that a lot of the faith-based organizations, I'll confront them with that issue, and they say, well, our God is full of grace. And I said, yeah, our Father is full of grace, yeah, but not for being stupid. If you know and don't do it, that's called stupid.
Right. Yeah.
So I think, no, what is your vision? How many people have a personal mission statement? It doesn't have to be fancy, hyper, but what do you have? Where are you going? Where are you heading out?
Yeah.
And one of the areas that's really interesting, being I'm in the sage season of life, is that it's just the sadness of so many people in my space that are not. This is your greatest, season of your life. You get a chance, an opportunity to give all that you've learned and all of your experience, your knowledge, and give it away to help somebody. Because you really turn this final season of life, you turn from doing to being. And what a joy is it to come alongside somebody and help them fulfill their vision, their dream. So to me, that's what finishing well is all about.
Yeah. Do you think this ties in somewhat to scaling? Like a lot of businesses have, the key man issue where, it's not really a sellable business. There's no, a lot of the value is tied to the primary operator.
Oh, sure.
And, is some of this tied to that where there's just no plan of making it bigger than themselves?
Well, I call it why are small businesses small? Because the leadership is small-minded.
Yeah.
They don't think of that. But that's what planning for having a succession plan is about. I mean, I know this is a very significant nonprofit, and they do a lot of good work in the financial area. And they need to go to transition. Well, the CEO is the rainmaker. He's bringing in 90% of the business.
Yeah.
How do you replace somebody like that?
Right.
You don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But you got to have a strategic plan to recognize what skill set he is representing, and maybe you have to bring in 2 or 3 people to make up for what that's all about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the planning is all about, and what we're able to do is, because Ministry Transitions is more of an informational platform. It covers all areas of transition. So we use a lot of assessments to really break down. But assessments are only as good as how you apply that information.
Sure.
But boy, it opens up the door. We do a lot of things called job benchmarking. I mean, if, like for example, if you wanted somebody to replace you, what would that profile be? You sure as heck wouldn't replace someone just like you, with you. That wouldn't work. Why?
I was waiting on a comment from Van on that one.
I was staying quiet.
I mean, well, think about it this way. Both of you have your son sitting in that chair,
Right.
10 years from now.
Yeah.
Scary, huh? Maybe.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
This will be a funny conversation later.
Yeah, it will. We're taking our sons down to Panama soon.
Yeah. We're going down to Panama with a bunch of our clients.
Investor
end
clients.
of this month, next week.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, they're going to get a little exposure to the international side of things.
See what we do.
Yeah.
Well, to me, that's wonderful. You both travel a lot. I mean,
yeah,
it's so critical today to have a global perspective.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, think of some. I mean, we grew up in Orange. My kids grew up in Orange County. Wow.
Pretty great.
Made sure we got them out of Orange County on a regular basis because talk about how they'd be shaped with that culture.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
yeah. We would say that to our kids all the time. I think you've said that to your kids too. Like, you guys grew up in a bubble. Like you got no idea.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we've always tried to get our kids.
The gift you give them when they have that global view, they'll never see things the same again.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
That's
their
right.
ability to accept and integrate with diversity and different peoples is just exponentially different.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
You said when you bring on a board, they'll want a succession plan in the first year. Do you find that oftentimes people you're working with, it's a little more of an emergency situation, and it's like they waited till the last possible minute to try it?
Right. Well, there's a basic flaw of humanity, and that is we do not like change. And we don't change until we feel pain.
Yeah.
It's the 18-inch rule from the head to the heart. And what we find is we just came back from 2 large conferences, and we're talking hundreds of Christian leaders. And everyone says, "Oh, what you do is so great. We really need that." Well, can we talk about you? Well, I'll get to it. I'll get back to you. They're not in pain.
Yeah.
Right.
It's great. I'm glad we're so popular, and you say it's so needed, but
Sure.
how about you? And then we find out, 2 weeks later, someone got laid off unexpectedly. Oh, so it's just but it's a lot of things in life we have to, even taking care of ourselves, physically or whatever. I mean, who says? I mean, there are some wackos that like to work out all the time, but I like to be
Both of our wives.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but the point is, we know, we got to take care of ourselves.
Right.
I mean, we don't have to be fanatical. But
That's right.
We definitely got to do it.
Right.
If we want to have I think, I don't know, you probably guys are the same way. It's that you get older, you make decisions to avoid pain.
Yes.
And when you're younger, your recovery rate is so quick, you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't drink very much. I mean, I enjoy wine. I don't drink a lot or anything like that. But the only hangovers I've had in the last 10 years is just eating the wrong foods.
Last week in Beverly Hills. That's right. A food hangover.
So what do you want your legacy to be? What's your succession plan?
Give it all away. He gave it all away.
That's good. How do your kids feel about that?
Pardon?
How do your kids feel about that?
Well, I was actually, since I don't have the area that they may have most interest in, which is the final part, when you have your own businesses all through the years, I didn't sell a people business. It doesn't have that tangible, hey, buy my $50 million people business.
Tell me about it.
What is your people business? Oh, it's just me.
Yeah.
Oh, well, how about $140?
I love it.
So, no, but your talents, your gifts, your knowledge. I mean, I personally believe that everything that was given to me was a gift to be given away. Mm-hmm. Play it forward, or however the cliches are. So if I can do that, with my own family, of course, very much so, but others I come in contact, then I was mentored by a gentleman who really had profound impact in my life, and I met him in the mid-'90s. His name was Dr. Ted Engstrom. You probably don't know the name, but you have heard of Focus on the Family, World Vision, on and on. Well, when I met him in 1996, he served on 22 different boards.
Wow.
There wouldn't be a World Vision without him. There wouldn't be a Focus on a Family per Jim Dobson without him. He wrote 52 books. And so when I met him in 1996, I was this little wet behind the ears guy, and we were on this little ministry, and somehow I'm the chairman of the ministry, and he's vice chairman, which is totally ridiculous. But we got to know each other until he passed at age 90. And the last 3 books he wrote, he had Immaculate Generation. He dictated them to his assistant. Probably one of the best nonprofit leadership books that ever written, he wrote. But he lived it out. I mean, even with Immaculate Generation, he didn't stop him. Mm-hmm. But he was a real guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, he promoted Billy Graham's first crusade.
Is that right?
Billy Graham going. And little old me, I'm like the little kid, like, I'm in my 40s, but I'm sitting there going, holy God, holy what, this guy.
Sure.
But he was so personable, so real. He knew more about sports than I did. I thought it was disgusting. He knew, all the batting averages, everyone on the Dodgers, and so forth. But I think seeing that is, to me, a wonderful expression. There's no, he did what he needed to do with what he had.
Right.
And he did it well.
Just in this short time here with you, I feel like you've had such a crazy life. You've had so many amazing people kind of in and out of your life over the years. Who would you say are like, and they don't even have to be like famous people or anything, but like, who were some of the people that had the biggest impact on your life, and in what way?
Not necessarily. I mean, there was a gentleman named Pastor Orville Butcher. Of course, Dr. Ted Engstrom, I mentioned that from a faith walk standpoint. There was moments of people at different time periods of my journey. There was, it's not like any one person. I mean, what shaped my life a lot in terms of just my faith walk, from 1996 to 2003, myself and 4 other gentlemen met for 2 hours every week, walked life together. Because that's a big thing in my book. You can't do this alone. You have to have people to walk with. I have too many blind spots. I need someone that loves me enough to tell me I'm full of it, or I'm going the wrong way, I guess. So when I think through there, I mean, different people have different impressions. I mean, but not any one. It's more what some of them may have said. I mean, there was a gentleman named Juan Carlos Ortiz. I'm sure you don't know that name. But you may have heard of Louis Palau, or you may have,
Of course.
Well, Louis Palau was his brother-in-law. And they all came up out of Argentina in the 50s. And I met this gentleman, and the first book I read after I became a person of faith was about this guy called Jesus. And when he worked at Crystal Cathedral, Robert Schuller, for a while. He would draw stronger, more people, Hispanic people or Spanish-speaking people than Schuller would do in the regular Crystal Cathedral.
Incredible.
And people would leave their services in tears. So, having met somebody like that. So there's a lot of people through the years, Dr. Henry Blackaby.
Oh, wow.
Henry with experiencing God, look where God's going, and join him. So there's a lot of people from that standpoint. From a business standpoint, from the really hard marketplace people, there's probably more people what I don't want influence me. Except I did have last week, I had Pat Gelsinger. You know that name?
Not off the top of my head.
Founder of Intel.
Okay.
Oh.
You know the USB port you have on your computer?
Yeah.
He invented it.
Okay.
There you go, Mr. IT.
Yeah. I was going to say, he's one of the 5 icons.
Wow.
But a very strong man of faith and character and ethics and integrity that has navigated that Silicon Valley world. But so brilliant. I mean, the way he talked about AI and everything, I'm just sitting there going, oh, this is way out of my league. But the way he spoke about it, he postured it in a way for hope.
Oh, wow.
And
we haven't heard a lot of that.
No, you haven't. But the way, when you heard him explain it, what it goes through, I mean, that's the beauty of it. I mean, and that's the other thing, even to travel, and that's where I've been really blessed to go to these conferences. Like recently, there's an organization called Christian Leadership Alliance. And they have an outcome that about 1,200 people attend it. Been around for, actually, this Dr. Ted Engstrom was one of the founders of it 50 years ago. But all it is providing, sharing and training up for nonprofits best practices, how to be a good finance person, good stewards, how to have HR policies, how to do marketing. And you're in a room with 1,200 people in this big area, all of them around the world coming in there. I mean, Salvation Army sent 80 of their people in there for trial. Wow. I mean, just all different types of people from all over, all desiring, to grow and to learn and be a good steward. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't. So
it's good.
Well, if someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, feel free to, you can reach out on LinkedIn. That's always a big thing. But also you can just send me an email at ron@ministrytransitions.com.
Awesome. On that topic, I should have asked this before I went there, but what is you're a people guy, you're a relationship guy. What's your take on like social media and kind of where all that has been over the last many years and where it's going and AI mixing in there? What's your take on that?
All I can say for myself, I've used, I myself use LinkedIn as my professional work. I'm only on Facebook because my family is. I don't. If you guys wanted to connect on Facebook, sorry. I use that. I really guard that carefully. Once again, understanding the influence there, and so it's what exists, and I use it where it needs to be done. It is the mode of out there. I really got to the point, Steve, is that a lot of this, it's now at the point where it's not my call to understand it. There's other generations that really understand it. So someone would say, well, have you done this with AI? Have you used this, that, and that? I go, no.
Right.
Do you want to? Not really. But I respect the need. You have to do it. If you're going to exist in commerce and in the marketplace today, this Pat Gelson's here gave a great story from IKEA. They had IKEA had 5,000 people in their customer service. When people call in, 5,000. They realized with AI, they didn't only need 2,500. So they knew they had to just let go of 2,500 people. But when they did their research, they found that one of the big questions that came in a lot, and this is right up your alley, Van, was design. How do I put that furniture in what kind of rooms? How does it look? So they retrained over 2,000 of the people they were letting off on how to be interior designers.
Wow.
And kept them employed. So they didn't have a reduction in force because of AI. It just forced people into a new area which they were willing to train them to be in.
Yeah.
See, this, it's like anything. You look left and right, you're going to feel depressed.
Right.
I mean, is there anything from a world's perspective that ever makes you feel good?
Do you feel like the generations coming up, though, have kind of lost some of the relationship soft skills that were, I guess, a little more important?
I have a couple of statements. If you're running any kind of business or any kind of service, if your target age group is not the millennial Gen Z, you'll be out of business in 5 years.
Yeah.
All right. So for that age group, yes, they don't necessarily have all the sophisticated skills, but especially the Gen Zs, all the research is going on that, they are so inclined to engage you not through social media. They want to sit down with people like the three of us. Mm-hmm. They want to engage in this. I mean, when I gave that talk to this group called DECO, I mean, it was 40 to 50 millennial Gen Z entrepreneurs. I mean, I thought I was giving out a lot of money because they just couldn't keep their eyes off me. They were just taking in everything I was saying.
That's good, yeah.
And even my wife thought I made sense, so that was good. But the idea is that there's a hunger there.
Right.
And that's the beauty, but it's not going to look like what it has in the past. Mm-hmm. Why is nothing looks like what it is in the past? Because then it wouldn't be God. God doesn't, like revival. I was with some group the other day and said, I'm praying for revival in Middle Tennessee. And I said to him afterwards, why are you praying for something that already exists?
It's good.
You just have to embrace it.
Right.
It's here. Look around. Look at you're in real estate. Look at all the people moving to the area, buying homes. Where are they coming here? Why? What have they told you is the reason they moved here?
Sure.
They don't really know why. They just feel glad to be here.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm, once again, you don't ask God why. You just ask him where and what and how.
That's right. That's what I always say. Never ask why, just say how.
Because if he told you, you wouldn't understand. So
that's all right.
Well,
on that message of hope, Ron, it was a pleasure having you on the show today.
Absolutely.
Well, I thank you for. It was I felt sort of random. You reached out and reached out to me. I'm going, what do I have to say? But
I think you had a lot to say. We could have gone a lot longer too.
Yeah.
Well, it's just I think it's what you're doing is creating conversations, and you don't have to be the guy in front of the stage to have an impact.
That's right.
As we know, everyone, the behind the stage person is pulling the string, right?
That's
man?
true. That's true.
So it's my pleasure to have the opportunity to share with you and to serve whatever I can to enhance what you're all doing.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And with that, we will see you guys next time. Well, that's a wrap on today's episode of Behind the Curtain, Nashville's Movers, Shakers,
And Taste Makers.
We hope you've been inspired by the stories of passion, perseverance, and innovation right here in Nashville.
A big thank you to our guests for sharing their journeys and to you, our listeners, for joining us. And of course, our gratitude to Chord Real Estate for making this conversation possible.
Don't forget to follow or subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform.
Thank us.
Yes, you did.
Oh, I guess I did. Well, thank us. Okay.
Like I was saying.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget to follow or subscribe on your favorite platform to catch every episode and hit that notification bell. We've got plenty more fascinating guests lined up, ready to share their insights and inspirations.
And we love hearing from you, so reach out to us with your thoughts, questions, or suggestions for who you'd like to hear from next.
Until next time,
Keep chasing your dreams and making your mark in Nashville.
Oh, my goodness.
Remember,
Am I talking to Casey
it's the
Kasem?
people behind the scenes that make the city shine.
I love it. Take care. See you behind the curtain.